Okay, what is it? What is holding you back? Do you feel that sometimes you could get that thing, you could achieve that amazing result, you could be that person, but something's holding you back? Now, if you have done even a second of self-development, you probably know, or you have a sneaking suspicion that the very thing, the only thing, in fact, the only thing that is holding you back is you. Now, that's a kind of scary thing to admit or to embrace, because if that's true, and if you truly do believe that the only thing that's holding you back from achieving what you want to achieve, from being who you want to be, from getting where you want to get, from doing what you want to do, if the only thing that is holding you back is you, well, I mean, that puts a lot of responsibility on your shoulders, doesn't it? I mean, that really is, the buck stops here. But, and this is the kind of good part of having that realization, if the only thing that's holding you back is you, well, then guess what? You can do something about that. If it was something external, if it was something that wasn't you, if it was something outside, it's a bit out of your control. But if it's you, and that is the only thing that's holding you back, you have complete control over you. You can change you. You can't change them, you can't change the environment necessarily, but you can change you. So on one hand, it's confronting and scary, and on the other hand, it's incredibly empowering. So does that sound like something that something juicy, something worth discussing? Because that is exactly what we're going to be talking about here today. So hi, I am Kylie Ansett. I am the Alignment Whisperer. I am a life coach and guide to seekers of alignment, those who want to get in touch with their inner brilliance, access that part of them that has all the answers, that understands exactly not only what is holding them back, but how to get beyond it. And I'm coming to you from beautiful Sydney, Australia. I'd love to know whereabouts you are, so let me know in the comments below. But also, I am here to give you your daily dose of alignment. All right, so let's talk about this thing, limiting beliefs. You've heard about this, I'm sure. It is a term that is bandied about, and I think sometimes these really powerful concepts lose their power because we use them so often, we hear them so often. I have a crystal up in the window, and it's giving me some nice little sparkles. We use these terms so often that they lose their power. Have you ever noticed that? A term that the first time you heard it really made you sit back and go, oh wow, I need to look at that, I need to think about this. Once you've heard it, yes, exactly. Once you've heard it a few times, used it, and then you've seen a few, they make a little meme out of it, and you see that being plastered around everywhere, and it's here and it's there, and it becomes a darling of social media, and it's stuck up everywhere for all to see. It becomes something that when you see it, it just kind of goes past your eyes without it really having any impact. Whereas the first time you saw it, you were like, oh, what is that all about? So I want to bring the impact and the meaning and the understanding and the gravitas back to this term, limiting beliefs, because we hear it and possibly use it without necessarily giving it its due. So limiting beliefs. Okay, this is my understanding of limiting beliefs, and I do not have the definitive definitions or anything like that. I'm just using it the way that I like to use it, the way that I talk about it with my clients, the way that it has helped me in many, many ways and continues to help me on a daily basis. Because limiting beliefs are not something that we just, wave a magic wand or do a process or two and then they're gone. Limiting beliefs are something that it's continual work. It's like exercise, right? You don't just sort of go to the gym today or do your push-ups or whatever it is today and then go, right, exercise, I've done exercise for my life, I'm good now, I can go forward and I have done exercise. It's like, yeah, you have to work on this thing constantly because to get results there's a there's a continuous action that needs to be taken place. So I know. Another thing to add to the list. No, really it's not. And like exercise, if you've ever done it, the more you do it, the easier it gets. The more you do it, the more fun it gets. And certainly when it comes to working with limiting beliefs, you get to be working with very subtle nuances after you've been doing it for a while, because sort of the big ones you've taken care of. I guess it's, if I'm gonna continue with the exercise analogy, it's like the first few times, or let's say yoga instead of exercise, because I'm more familiar with that. The first few months, even years that you're doing yoga, you spend a lot of time just worrying about the pose, left arm here, right arm there. And as you do it more and more, the poses, and now you're getting into the nuances of the pose, like exactly where each knuckle goes, exactly how you're spreading your toes. And then after you've been doing it for even longer, like maybe for years, you realize it's got nothing to do with your body at all. And it's all to do with what's going on in your mind as you're doing the pose. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about here. At first, it's the big, like, okay, that's sort of a big, what could we say, more, less subtle, and then it becomes more and more subtle the more you work on it. So let's talk about this thing, limiting beliefs. So first of all, let's talk about the word belief. A belief is just a thought that you've had a lot of times. It's just a thought that you keep having. That's all a belief is. Nothing more, nothing less. Now that's a fantastic thing to realize, because once you claim that, once you step into that, once you realize that, you can see that you can implant any belief that you want simply by thinking a thought over and over. That is all that a belief is. It's just a thought you keep thinking. Now, number one, that's awesome. But number two, what thoughts are you thinking over and over? Because if you are thinking a particular thought that's not necessarily serving you, well, guess what? You have just come face to face with a limiting belief. Now this is because it's a belief, because you've thought it over and over and over again. So when you think something multiple times, this activity takes place in your brain, a specific activity that's reserved for repeated thoughts. And it's where that thought kind of shifts into a belief. It's almost where our intentionality gets taken out of the picture. Now, our intentionality is never out of the picture, but it feels like that. So that's what a belief feels like. It feels like something that just is. Like, I don't have to question that. It just is. I believe this is the case. I believe that, this is how that sort of person acts. I believe that, this is something, it's something we've thought so often that we no longer question it, query it. We no longer even look at it. It becomes something that just is. So it feels like we don't have a choice about it, but we do. It's just because we've thought it so many times, it feels like we've taken that choice away. So I'm here to say, number one, you do have a choice. And number two, not only do you have it, but you can change it if you want to. So a limiting belief, so that's what a belief is, good, bad, or indifferent. But a limiting belief is one that is bad, I guess, if we want to put a definition on it. It's something that is not serving us. On a very deep level, we think it's true. And because of that, we don't question it. And it could be something that was implanted there at a young age where we didn't have discernment. And often limiting beliefs are understandings about ourselves. They're understandings about how we work in the world, how we show up or don't show up, and all these sort of things. So you know, we hear this thing, you know, a teacher at school said, you know, you're stupid, or a friend when we were like a little kid, you know, made some judgment about us, and that stuck in our head, and it became a repeat. It went on repeat in our head, not just while we were 5 years old, but while we were 10 years old, and then when we were 15, and then on it goes through our entire adult life. And now it's no longer something that we're questioning. We're just like, oh yeah, that's who I am. I'm stupid. I know that because I have said that to myself, you know, 70 million times, and it is well and truly a belief now. So obviously, when we have beliefs that aren't serving us, that are actually stopping us from stepping forward, they are limiting beliefs. That's the definition of a limiting belief. But how do we know what they are? How do we supplant them with something else? And how do we kind of move on from them? So that's what we're looking at today, because this is a really big and powerful topic. When I'm working with my clients one-on-one, this is where we begin. This is always where we begin, because without doubt, the place that you are now and the place that you want to be, which is the whole kind of role of a coach, of a life coach, is to help you get from where you are now to where you want to be, but to do it in a way that is effortless. That's my goal as what I call a deep coach. I like to do it. I like to help it happen in a way that takes no effort, because we already put so much effort into everything, and we haven't got any energy left over to be doing new things. It's like, how much extra can we do? So I like to activate these parts of my clients' brains where it's not an effort. Yes, exactly. It's not an effort. It's actually something that happens so easily that it's effortless. So the limiting beliefs, how do we understand what they are? Well, there's definitely processes, but I think if you've done a half a second of self-development, you'll understand what beliefs you have that may be holding you back. And if you've never asked yourself that question, well, this is the time to do it. Now, they don't always spring up, because the whole point of a belief is it's so deeply ingrained that we don't question it and we don't see it. We don't see it because it's part of who we are. It's become part of us, and it becomes part of the landscape. So you don't notice it anymore because you just see it all the time. It's like the other day I was walking down the road and I was doing a live stream, and I was talking about noticing things in our environment, and someone said to me, well, look at all the shopping trolleys in your environment. And I thought, how interesting. I don't even see them because I live very close to a shopping centre. And so me and other people take our shopping down the road in our shopping trolleys, and then we leave the shopping trolleys and the guy in the truck comes around and picks them up. So I don't even see them. They're all along the pathway. I don't even notice them anymore. But that's what a limiting belief looks like. To other people, they're like, why is there 15 shopping trolleys like on the nature strips all along your road? And I'm like, what shopping trolleys? What are you talking about? That's what a limiting belief feels like to us. We're like, what? Like, that's just normal. That's how it's meant to be. And other people are like, that's not normal. Now, like, there is a process, and this is one of the things that when you work with a life coach, these are the kind of things you dig into. But if you are aware of your limiting beliefs, now the thing is, how do you stop thinking them, and how do you supplant a benefiting belief in? Well, first of all, recognize them. I do this work with my clients called shadow values, and this is a absolutely magical process, and it's where we actually understand what is the most motivating shadow value. And a shadow value is an aspect of ourselves that we haven't embraced, that we've suppressed because it's not, It's not deemed acceptable by polite society. So even though we have this aspect, we've kind of pressed it down. We've put it in the shadows, hence its name. But what happens is it comes out and it shows itself in ways that sabotage us. Now, this is where we get into the really juicy stuff, because once you understand what aspects of you are sabotaging you, once you understand what your limiting beliefs are, if you can then link those two, I liken it to putting a bunch of kind of hyperactive kids in a room with a whole bunch of activities for them to do versus putting a bunch of hyperactive kids in a room that's filled with, shelves of delicate china or something. Like, one's going to be a disaster and one is, who knows what fantastic things they're going to get up to. So you really, you need to direct these shadow values to work for you instead of against you, because when they're left to their own devices, they're like those kids in the room with all the the breakables. They will just wreak havoc. So we link them to aspects of what you actually want to do, what you want them to do. We give them something positive to work towards. We don't try and deny them. We don't try and suppress them. We actually activate them, but in a way that's going to help us. Now, if you want to know more about this is the kind of work I do with my clients, and it's a process like what I've just spoken through can take maybe 2 hours to kind of get to the bottom of it. So if this is something that sounds interesting, thought-provoking, something that you think may benefit you, then by all means reach out to me and let's see what that might look like. But just for right here, right now, I am going to say to you, understand that a limiting belief is a choice. It's not a given. It is something that you do have the power, whether you step forward with it or not. And if you want to think something over and over and over again, it will become a belief. This is why they use affirmations, right? So an affirmation is something that you say over and over and over again. The problem with an affirmation is if it's just words, it doesn't really have that much power. It's got to be a belief. You have to believe it in the moment that you're saying it. So it has to be a thought that you think over and over again with a feeling, with an emotion that's attached to it. That's how it becomes a belief. So if you want your affirmations to be powered up, you need to really put energy and emotion into them. You have to it's hard to, I'm sort of using the word belief in two ways, because a belief is a thought you think over and over again, but that thought has to be something you believe for it to become a belief. It has to be something that you have energy and a vibrational power behind it as you're thinking it. If you're just saying words that have no real meaning, or that they're just words that you're saying, but or you actually believe the opposite of them. I mean, this is a problem with affirmations. We say them, but we often believe the exact opposite of what it is that we're saying. And so then when we speak the words, it's activating the opposite. You say, I want to have a fantastic figure or something, and your belief is that you don't have that. And every time you say it as an affirmation, what are one of the popular ones? My body is a lean, mean machine or something like that. But when you say it, you think, no, it's not. No, it's not. You've got to believe it as you say it. You've got to put the vibration of the energy and the vibration and the feeling of having that thing and already being that thing if you want an affirmation to work. So that's my thoughts on affirmations. It's why I'm not huge on using them, because I think that the belief comes from just having that thought over and over again. So here, let's look at the thoughts that are serving you, and let's look at the thoughts that are not serving you. And for the ones that aren't serving you, it's time to say goodbye. It's time to catch yourself having them and then stop. Stop. No more. No more. Now that takes a lot of, it takes intentionality, and it also takes awareness. And the best way to get awareness on a moment-to-moment basis is meditation. So if you're not meditating every day, then this exercise becomes a little bit harder, because then a lot of the time our thoughts are happening, it feels like, to us. We don't feel like we have any we don't feel like we have any control over them. We don't feel like we have any choice in the matter. And we aren't even aware when they're happening. We're kind of maybe aware of them after the fact, after we've already been thinking them for, 15 minutes. We go, then we can step out and see that that's what we've been thinking. Meditation it shortens that gap. It allows you to become aware more or less in the moment, certainly, just a few split seconds afterwards. That's the goal of meditation from my perspective, is to give us some more awareness about what we are actually thinking. And then when you have awareness, then you've got choices. We covered a lot today, and I really honor and acknowledge you for being here, for hanging in there and looking at these interesting concepts. If this is something you have thought about, if this is something that you have played with yourself, if this is something that you've ever heard about and you want to talk more about limiting beliefs, well, let me know. Drop a comment below. Let me know that this is something that resonates for you, and tell me what your thoughts are on it, because I'd love to know, is this something that you have struggled with or have played with? Maybe you've got some interesting exercises that you do that have helped you move beyond your limiting beliefs. Whatever it is, I would have really loved to hear. So thank you so much for playing with me in the Alignment Sandbox. This has been a lot of fun, and please remember, the power is always, always within you. Bye-bye.